Hi children, we have come again to just discuss regarding about the science. You are keeping well, I think, at your home and also learning different things from various aspects. Right now, we have little bit of studies for you children, and in the first lecture for your chapter 1 of science, that is green plants, I have stated everything and also have asked you to follow the website www.bsnes.in, where you will get all the exercise question answers done. I am once again asking you to just follow them. Right now today I am going to start chapter 2 with you and have our interaction. Chapter 2, where plants live. This is nothing but the adaptations. You know, all the plants are not there in a certain place. Some plants are grown on the plains. Some are grown at the top of the hills. Some plants are grown inside the water. And even in the water, there are different situations there. Number one, immersed. That means the plants which grow absolutely inside the water, dipped inside the water. And submerged, those who are having the parts floating over, but the main plant is stuck in the soil below the water. And the third one is free floating. Children, you have seen the water hyacinth floating during the rainy days, rainy seasons, in the ponds, big jhils, or in the river, and they are floating. They have inflorescence, means a bunch of flower together. A violet color flower is there that you can find. So we are coming to that later on. By the adaptations, or where plants live, that is, the adaptation comes from this. In this chapter you are going to study the habitat, adaptation, plants on land, plants in water, and even the other plants. Right now you know the green plants, what you have studied in chapter 1, are the producers. They produce the food for all the organisms that is present on the surface of the earth. They supply the food directly or indirectly. But the plants also live in different places, so they need to do little bit of adaptation. Now what is adaptation? The changes they occur, or the changes they do to suit with the surroundings. What is surroundings? What I told you, surrounding is known as the habitat. And what is habitat? A certain area where an organism, whether a plant or an animal, can live comfortably, can rear the next generation. So this is habitat. Okay? Now, for the plants or any other organisms to stay in a particular habitat, sometimes they have to change little bit in their own systems or in their postures or even in their body structures. So that is known as adaptation. And then we are coming to see this like this. Okay, the plants that we see around us, first thing we see on the land. We people stay in the plains and see that plenty of plants are there, like mango trees, like banana trees, and all those are there that we see. And these are known as the land plants because they grow on the land. Grow on the land, suppose the mango plant or some other plants are there. This is land plants are there. They grow on the land. So they are land plants. Okay? And they are also known as terrestrial plants. Terrestrial plants. So they are terrestrial plants. What plants are they? They are the terrestrial plants. And this habit is known as the terrestrial habits. And there are the plants which live on water. That is called aquatic habit. Water plants, that is known as aquatic plants. Well, children, plants in plain, like you see the mango trees, guava trees, you have the beautiful gulmohar with all different kinds of flower blooming, and thus even we find it in the soil of the desert. In desert we have the plants called some special adaptation, because the survival in the desert is very, very tough. Scarcity of water, there is no water available easily. So they need to adapt themselves. What are the adaptation? The desert plant needs long, deep root system, because they have to go. The roots has to go in search of the water down beneath the soil, very long way or to very deep way. So that's how they get the water. That is because of the scarcity of water. They keep the water in their body parts, like the leaves or stems and all those. So these are known as succulents. These are known as the succulents. So this water is required where there is a need for the plant itself. Well, some plants have very seasonal leaves that grow in rain, and the lack of leaves helps to lose the water, because if there is more leaf, more transpiration will be there, more loss of water will be there. That's why they have the less number of leaves. Then some plants are leafless and conduct photosynthesis in their green stem. They have flat green stem. What is happening in desert? Flat green stem. Desert plants, flat green stem. By the flat green stem, they do the photosynthesis. Then you can ask me, where is the leaf? The leaf has become spines. Why they have become spines? Because to reduce the surface. If there is more surface, more loss of water will occur. So the plant will be in very much difficulty. So they reduce the surface by making the leaves converting into spines. And thus they make their food by the stems. They make their food by the stems. And the stems are fleshy, thick, flat, and having green color. That means they have chlorophyll in their stem so that they can undergo photosynthesis to prepare the food. Well, prickly spines discourage the animals from eating these plants. These plants having a self-defense mechanism, because they make the spines in such a way that the herbivorous animals cannot easily eat them out. So they remain safe. And waxy coating on the stem helps them to reduce the water loss. You see, all leaves in plains, in hills, even in the water plants, all leaves are given a waxy coating on one end. This waxy coating end is known as the cuticle, and this cuticle prevents the leaves from undergoing decay, so that they can continue perform their food preparation and the other work like respiration, what the leaves do, and also transpiration, the loss of water, to keep the water balance in the nature. Well, plants in mountains, there are certain characteristics are there for the mountain plants. First thing is that they are cone-like structures. They grow like this. Cone-like structures they come. Why they are cone-like? Because to slide off the snow and heavy rain. Snow and heavy rain. If the branches were straight, the snow would have been deposited there, and by the weight of the snow, leaves and branches would have been broken. That's not happening, because the snow falls here and slides off. and slides up. And when the snow are slided off, so there is no question of breakage of the leaves, the twigs and all those are there. So they have needle-like leaves and also easily flat broad leaves. Waxy coatings are there, what I told you right now. Right now many trees have branches and droop down to help. Droop down means downward grown. That is the coniform actually is. And then plants in heavy rainfall areas. Coming to heavy rainfall areas, plants grown in heavy rainfall areas is plants like evergreen, which means they do not lose their leaves. There are evergreen plants who has all the year having green leaves and they are never undergo any leaf fall. But there are another kind of plant is there which are known as deciduous plants. These deciduous plants once in a particular season in 1 year they shed off all the leaves. And to your knowledge, you know this is done for another region also. What region is that? They keep their excretory matter in the leaves, and while the season is completed, they shred up their leaves, they drop their leaves, and new leaves come out to undergo and to do the processes what they need to do. Rice, cashew, pineapple, sugarcane, cotton, rubber, teak grow well in the areas where there are plenty of rain. Okay, now here we come, the plants along the sea coast. You know the coconut. Now coconut is a fruit, what we get is giving us food, drinks like coconut water and the pulp of the coconut, and also you know it gives us oil and all those when they are processed. Now this coconut plantation always is there near the seas or huge hills and lakes. Or why you know? Because when the seeds are ripened, they fall in the water, and it has a outer fibrous coating which can keep the seeds afloat, and they can be carried by the water current to miles, sometimes 1,000 miles, and there they go and germinate to form. So this is how the coconut plantation is there near the sea. Go to South India, you will find plenty of coconut plantation is there, and that is grown not by the human beings sowing, it's naturally grown plantation, and that goes naturally growing plantation shows you that the seeds can float from one place to the other by water. Well children, plants in marshy or swampy areas are there. So marshy and swampy areas are there where there are the bryophytes and all those are formed. In rocky places there are a special kind of plant that is grown. The lower part is fungi and the upper part in the same plant body is algae. So algae is producing the food and the fungi part is supplying the the raw materials, and finally they are sharing. This is called symbiosis, and these plants are called the lichens. Well, we come on the water plant or aquatic plants. Now in aquatic plants we have come to know three types. One is free floating. I told you just now that water hyacinth is a plant which floats. You will see the very green color plants having bunches on the river and inflorescence, that means the bunch of flower, violet color, beautiful looking, and they move from one place to another. Or in the stagnant water, they cover the whole pond. It looks like you can go and easily sleep on that. But it is not. They are water hyacinth. What are they? They are water hyacinth. The water hyacinth has swollen petiole. Petiole means the lip stalk, which is swollen, means puffed. And in the petiole there is air. So this air keeps them afloat in the water. They have very nice and soft spongy leaves, spongy roots, and by these roots they can exchange the oxygen and all. So this is how they do. They have chlorophyll, and so they easily make their food. The second one is, another one is Valsaneria, and there are some fixed plants are there. The roots are fixed to the bottom like lotus and water lily. The water lily and lotus, they stuck their leaves inside the water, but their flower and the leaves are floating on the top of the river. During the reproduction, there is a magical thing happens in the lotus. The female flower comes out from down beneath the water and waits for the male flower to receive on the surface of the water, while the male flower detaches itself from the plant and goes and meets the female flower. So by doing that, fertilization occurs, and the male flower after the fertilization is flown away, or by the current it is flown away. The female flower again coils down and goes beneath the water, where the complete development of the seed is done, and after that they complete their reproduction. Well, lotus and water lily are the fixed plants, and underwater plants like that, such as the pondweed, tape grass, and narrow leaves without stomata. Why they are narrow leaves? Because the narrow leaves will not get any kind of what is called barrier in the current. Otherwise, if the leaves are broad, by the water current the leaves will be torn. So that they have narrow leaves, and tapering, that means so that easily they can float inside. They breathe through the surface and keep the water clean. And in lotus and all those, the stomata is present, not like the other plants. There the stomata is present on the upper surface, so that they can easily do the gaseous exchange. Now, non-green plants, as the same suggests, non-green plants do not have chlorophyll. Now, they are saprophytes, especially the fungi. The fungi, you see, you have already seen the mushroom. Mushroom you eat also, button mushroom and agaricus, that is a nice mushroom, and they are very tasty to eat. These are non-green plants. They are known as fungus. They never produce the food. Instead, they feed on the dead and decayed things which is left over. So that is why they are known as the non-green saprophytes. Depend on the dead plants or animals to fulfill their nutrition. Now, there is a plant which can catch prey. There are some plants which can catch prey. Now, children, you have seen the animals like cat, lion, tiger, even dog. They catch prey. So, they catch prey to get their food. These are called the carnivorous animals which catch prey. Here, the plants are also there. Some plants, they also catch prey and do their nutrition. These kinds of plants are known as carnivorous plants. For example, we see in our Garo Hills and Assam region, there are pitcher plants are there. The petiole of the pitcher plant is like a pitcher, means like a small, what it is called, pitcher in Hindi is called kalas, and there is a lid cover on top of that, and it is full of enzymes and slippery mucus like things, where the insects, if they walk, they will slip and go down into the pitcher, and then ghada, pitcher means ghada in Hindi, and there if they go inside, they cannot come out because there are bristles which are faced downward. Downward bristles prevent all those prey to come out, and instantly the lid closes and all the digestive enzymes come and digest the complete insect. As they fall in, the downward bristles does not allow them to come out, and the lid is closed and the enzymes come and dissolve them. So they can do their nutrition by doing that. Well, these carnivorous plants are like pitcher plant, we have Venus flytrap, we have sundew, etc. So these plants always do their best. So this is all about your chapter 2, and the question answers in the exercise that we have you will get in www.bsnes.in. The children, I think you have already gone through this. Now let us have a review once more. We have the green plants that we studied in chapter 1. Now we have come to know about where plants live. That means the adaptations in plants. And what is adaptation? It is a certain change that the organisms do to live themselves in a particular surroundings and make them suitable for their stay in the particular surroundings or habitat, and to grow and to reproduce and to keep their generation. Now what you have learned from here? You have learned the habitat means the environment, and then you know what is adaptation, the change according to the habitat and to make them suitable. And then plants on land plants or terrestrial plants like mango plants and all those are there, and the land plants usually do their reproduction by a process known as pollination, and by pollination the flowers get fertilized, fruits are reared, and inside the fruit the ovules become seeds and when the seeds are there, they are ripened, then the seeds are dispersed by the animals, birds, winds, etc., and then finally germinate to get the new plant. Coming to the next point, plants in water that you have come to know, the submerged, immersed and free floating plants. The free floating plants like water hyacinth, a beautiful plant which moves around, or they are stagnant in the water, completely green. They have violet color inflorescence, that means the bunches of flower, beautiful looking ones, and they just go on free floating. Submerged plants, water hyacinth, what is called Thalassoneria, and the halfly immersed plants fixed in the soil is water lily and lotus. So these are the plants, and the other plants that we have studied regarding the carnivorous plant, that is pitcher plant and all those. And in mountain the plants are there, they are adapted to withstand with the snowfall and all, so their branches and all those are in the coniferous form, so that the snow slides up. And in the desert they have long deep root, and also they have flat stem, reduced leaf to spine to prevent them from eating by the herbivores, and the flat stem, green stem does their photosynthesis. So this is all about chapter 2. I think you have enjoyed the chapter, and please go through the question answers of the exercise given in www.bsnes.in. Thank you and have a nice day.